Hello, I'm Rhonda Farragher and I'm the Director of the Down Syndrome Research Program here at the University of Queensland. And researchers here have been working for over 40 years studying issues and problems of relevance to people with Down syndrome and their families. Joining me for our second panel are Daryl Steff and Jan Lloyd. Daryl Steff is the CEO of Down Syndrome Queensland, and he has a finance background, going through over 15 years' experience in executive and management roles in large corporates, including BHP Billiton, and more recently in his own business. Daryl has 3 children, the youngest of whom is a delightful young girl with Down syndrome, and he's been the CEO of DSQ for the past 4 years. Dr. Jan Lloyd is my colleague here at the University of Queensland. She's the Program Manager of our Down Syndrome Research Program. She earned her doctorate this year, which capped off many, many years of work in the field of Down syndrome. She had worked as a research assistant for a long time and has been involved in that program and working with the families for many years. And it's delightful now that she's involved as a postdoctoral researcher on a couple of our research projects. I'd also like to introduce our panel moderator for this session. This one is chaired by Alana Pettigrew. Alana completed her schooling at St John's at Forest Lakes, and she has just recently commenced her appointment as a research assistant in the Down Syndrome Research Program, and she's working with us on the Gen Z project, looking at the lives of young adults with Down syndrome. An exciting piece of work. So over to you, Alana.
Daryl, you are the CEO of Down Syndrome Queensland. What's happening at DSQ now and what is planned for the future?
Thanks, Alana. Yeah, it's been a busy 4 years since I started as the CEO at Down Syndrome Queensland. And I think the thing that's probably changed the organisation the most in the last few years is the NDIS. So what we've found is that whilst we're still doing our core activities of information and supporting educators, we've also added a whole suite of NDIS programs, and I know you come along to some of our NDIS programs we run.
Yes.
So we have education programs, including our continued education and Latchon programs. That's a collaboration with the University of Queensland. And we do our education programs where we support schools to include people with Down syndrome. We've also added programs around challenge weekends where we take groups of people with Down syndrome away for a weekend. We do social activities on weekends where we might go to a theme park or just out for a movie and a dinner, all structured around building capacity. That's the core of our programs, and probably the other thing that we've achieved in the last 4 years has been around the new programs we've started and the new projects that we've received some funding for. So we have a project called Get Active, which we have funding to work with community sports clubs and help the grassroots sports clubs include people with Down syndrome or any intellectual disability in that local sports club. And the good thing about that is that means that the child can be included in the same club as maybe their sibling or their friends from school. So that's been an exciting program to kick off. We've also been working on an employment project, and I think you've spoken to some of the people who've been doing the employment work.
Yes, I did.
So in that project, again, we're looking to do a couple of things. One is to help employers understand the benefits of employing someone with Down syndrome. So we're doing that through both a campaign around to increase the awareness, and also some fact sheets and training that employers can do about what it means to employ someone with Down syndrome. And we're also developing a work readiness course that people can do for a number of weeks so that they are ready to go out and get a mainstream job, and then we'll help them be connected with an employer who's keen to take someone on. So that's been an exciting project to start, and that's going to go for the next 12 months, and then obviously looking to keep that going. And the other one, similar to that we've just started, is around digital literacy. So obviously with COVID, the last nearly 2 years, there's been a lot more people using technology. And what we're really conscious of is let's give everyone the opportunity to use technology, make sure they can do it safely, make sure they can do it for what they want to do it. So that could be internet banking, it could be answering emails, searching for things on the web. We've also had people who want to, use the social media, so their Facebooks and Instagrams. Even had a few people keen to understand how to use dating apps on there as well. So the whole suite, and we're looking to develop resources to help them understand how to do that safely and how to access those things. So look, the last 4 years have had a lot happening at DSQ. As for the future, I think, look, the plan is to embed all the programs we're developing and continue to grow, but never go away from the core that started our organisation 40 odd years ago, around providing that information and support to parents and to people with Down syndrome. And we'll continue to advocate on some of the key areas that we currently are and will do in the future, which includes prenatal testing, employment, education, and a whole suite of things around the health area. So look, it has been an exciting time for Down Syndrome Queensland in the last few years, and I think it'll continue to be exciting into the future as well. We always have the challenge of funding. Funding's never certain for too many years into the future, and we do still rely on a lot of fundraising and donations to be able to keep doing everything we do. But I think the future for DSQ is an exciting one.
Cool. Thank you so much, Daryl.
No problem.
Cool. And I think I've got a question for you, Jan.
Okay, Alana.
Jan, you have been involved with DSRP for 27 years. For Latchon is an exciting part of the program. What's new?
Okay, so thank you, Alana. I'll just tell everyone quickly what Latchon is. So Latchon is a post-school program for adults who've left school, and it focuses on literacy and numeracy. So it's been running in Australia since we developed it in 1998. But in the last 10 years, it's also been running in Ireland. So one of the new things that's happening in Ireland is that it was initially run through their community organisations, but this year they have what they call their ETBs, which is an equivalent to what we have here in Queensland called TAFE. And their ETBs are actually taking up Latchon, and they're going to run our classes in all of their different rooms throughout Ireland. Mm-hmm. So that's very exciting for us, because it means that they're just like regular students when they leave school, just like other students go to university and TAFE, or as they call it in Ireland, ETBs. The students with intellectual disability, they can also go and do a course as well. And one of the other exciting things for us is that much as Daryl said that NDIS has brought some new things, for us it actually, when NDIS first came in Australia, it actually stopped Latchon from running in Australia because NDIS didn't support education for people with intellectual disability. So Latchon stopped for quite a few years, but a very exciting thing has happened for us with Daryl. He, as part of one of their initiatives, they've started Latchon again here in Queensland. So they have 2 sites currently running and another one hopefully starting up next year. And lots of inquiries for new students to be coming, so I think more classes will be starting as well. So it's going ahead and very exciting for us and for the students who are able to attend.
Thank you so much, Jan.
That's okay.
I think I've got a question for Rhonda. Is it be okay with you?
Thanks, Alana.
What's happening in the Down syndrome research program?
It's a very exciting time, Alana, and you're part of it, because we have 2 new projects that have just got funding, and one of them's very exciting. It was funded by the National Disability Research Program, and that's allowed us to employ 4 people with Down syndrome as research assistants, and we are using that to look at the lives of people, young adults with Down syndrome, 18 to 30, because life's very different now from people who were born when our first babies were born in our longitudinal study. And they're in their 40s now, but for people who have just left school, things are very different. And we want to find out about that. We want to find out about the things they do in their lives. And the wonderful thing about this program of research that's coming out of the National Disability Research Program is that it actively encourages research with people with intellectual disability. And we've found that to be really beneficial for us as researchers. We've learnt a lot, and we think it's going to be a really important part of the way we continue to do research. It's not the first time in our Down syndrome research program that we've worked with researchers with Down syndrome, but it is an exciting opportunity that it's a funded program. But there are other things going on. We've also received funding from the Australian Research Council that we're going to be looking at secondary mathematics in classrooms, students with Down syndrome, but also students with other intellectual disabilities. And that is work that's continuing on from research that we have been doing previously. So we're very excited to have that funding, and we're working in partnership with government schools, schools in the Edmund Rice system, and independent schools. So that's going to be exciting. That's kicking off as we speak, which will be rather good. And our work on genomics is continuing as well. That's a big project looking at the ethical, legal and social implications of genomics, and we were talking with a group of people just this week, people with intellectual disability, talking about what that might mean and how we might get information from lots of people. And we'll be moving into that phase next year where we're engaging with people with disability and getting their views on those issues. Jazz Chawla continues her work in sleep research over at the Mater, and she's collaborating with a lot of people, including the Down Syndrome Queensland. Important work there, because we know that the impact on poor sleep in health and education and really all aspects of people's lives is significant, and we need to find out more about that. And our longitudinal study continues, so we're thinking about where we'll go into the future with that.
Think about the future for people with Down syndrome. What exciting opportunities to lie ahead?
I'm happy to start with that one, Alana, if you
Thank
want,
you.
and then I'm sure Jan and Rhonda can add their views as well. Look, I think one of the most exciting things in terms of opportunities is that there are more opportunities for people with Down syndrome in the future. I think, the biggest challenge is often the inclusion in the community and the community acceptance of what contribution people with Down syndrome can make. And I think it's exciting to see that things are moving in the right direction. It's a long journey. It's not going to be fixed overnight, but it's great to see that, things are happening in the employment space, in the education space, and even in the health space that are moving us in the right direction in terms of the community being much more inclusive of more not just Down syndrome, but all disabilities. So that's one of the most exciting things. Probably the other exciting thing that's worth mentioning for the whole Down syndrome community is in 3 years' time, we get the World Down Syndrome Congress here in Brisbane. So that's being organised by Down Syndrome Australia, but it'll be run here in Brisbane. So I'm sure we'll get you involved in that and the research program and everything else. So that will be really exciting. We'll have people with Down syndrome, and we'll have professors and health experts from all over the world, hopefully coming to that.
Good, thank you.
Exciting.
Okay. How about you, Jen?
Well, I have a couple of things on my bucket list, but one is with Daryl, because we're hoping that Latchon has been so successful. We went and actually visited the Gold Coast site just last week, and it's just fabulous to see it all happening again and the students so engaged and motivated in learning. And we're hoping that it will move further and won't be just 3 locations, but with the support of Down Syndrome Queensland, we're hoping that it might move right throughout Australia.
Well, we definitely have plans.
And that's
definitely
right.
have plans there, Jan. Yes.
So
Yep.
if that can happen, that would be fabulous, because it just opens so many opportunities for people for their post-school learning. So that's one. And the other one, I had a light bulb moment with Rhonda yesterday. Everyone runs in the other direction when they hear about my light bulb moments. But our project with you, where you're working, Alana, is just going so well. And originally we're doing it with our research with 18 to 30-year-olds, but we also have our cohort from our original longitudinal study, and those adults are now 40, moving close to 50. So we were thinking that our research assistants perhaps might be able to do a similar project with those adults, just to see what their life is like. So is it the same as people who are 18 to 30, or what's happening in their lives? So we're sort of considering whether that's another possibility.
Thank you, Jen. How about you, Rhonda, please?
It is an exciting time, absolutely. And hearing of the past and the times when it was not such a good thing to have a child with Down syndrome, it was hard for the families, and they really worked together. They were strong advocates to make the world a better place. And I think we're continuing that tradition, and the world is getting to be a better place. Our people with Down syndrome in the longitudinal study are ageing, and ageing and Down syndrome is one of the big areas that we need to think about how we can focus on healthy ageing rather than focusing on some of the issues that can beset people with Down syndrome as they age. How do we make sure that as people grow older, they grow older in the best way they can, in the best quality of life? And so that's the sort of areas that we're thinking that we might look at, and one of these ideas of exploring what life is like for people as they age. But I'm also really excited about the possibilities around schooling. We haven't done that well for a lot of children with Down syndrome, and there continue to be issues there. It can be quite a difficult area for teachers to work. It's it's an area requiring expertise, and yet we see remarkably good practice. And so being able to document that and share it is a really important aspect of what we're going to be doing.